Hi, thank you for joining us on Living Life in the River. I'm Micah.
And I'm Mia.
And today we're talking about growing up in church. I think we both have similar stories, but I started coming to church with my mom when I was a baby, coming to church to lay on a blanket on the floor with toys and coloring books, and that's just where I was for the next couple hours. And then my mom got more involved in ministry, so then I got more involved in ministry as a result. And that's the way that my life unfolded and has been from then until now. I mean, you know, different things have happened on the way, and I've had to make a personal commitment, and it's come from my heart instead of this is just what we do. Yeah. But it definitely started that way.
Yeah. I think my story's almost the same, pretty much the same. I would have also, when my mom started coming to church, she would have took inspiration from Mika's mom, put me on a mat with a coloring book, some toys, grew up there, but always being surrounded in this atmosphere of around believers, being in church and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then eventually growing up, my mom would have become more involved, and then she would have gotten me involved, and then I became more involved on my own. And yeah, that's just how my life has gotten to where it is now.
Something that we both said is that it came to a point where we had to make the decision for ourselves. Yeah. And I can't remember the exact turning point for me, but it was definitely a conscious decision that I was making out of my own desire, my own willingness and desire to come to church and to worship God together and to listen to His word together and to do ministry things. That it wasn't just, it goes beyond just my parents are going, so therefore I am going. And I mean, that has parallels to your own relationship with God. Is it that you have a relationship with God because your parents have a relationship with God and they're keeping you accountable? You have to pray, you have to read your word, you have to go to church? Or do you have a relationship with God of your own volition? Are you spending time with God? Are you making that commitment of your own volition? And it's more than just my parents are doing it, or my grandmother is doing it, or somebody is coming to pick me up every week to go to church, so therefore I have no choice. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah, it came a point where I would have realized that this was my choice. My mom isn't forcing me to do this. I have to make this decision on my own. I mean, obviously, when I was small, I really had no choice. She would just say, okay, Sunday morning and we're going to church. Mm-hmm. But then there came a day when I'm not sure what had happened the day before. I think we would have gotten home late, or I would have been up late or something, and I would have been tired that Sunday morning. And so my mom came and she woke me up, and she said, "Are you going to church?" And I was kind of taken aback because it didn't occur to me that I had a choice, that she was asking me and I could have said yes or no. I mean, she would have been disappointed if I said no. But I think it was at that point when I realized, I could say, "Oh, Mom, I'm not going to church today." Mm-hmm. Or I could say, "Yes, of course I'm going to church today. Of course I'm putting this time in and setting aside this time to go to church." But at that point, I think is when I really realized, this is up to me, and I could say no or I could say yes.
Yeah, I agree. While it is a commitment and it is something that you're making the very conscious decision to do, because there will always be something else that you may want to do. Your friends are going out, your family is going out, or there's something going on that you don't necessarily, or you just want to sleep in, or you want to not leave your house or something like that. There's always you can always find a reason to not come. So there is that commitment that you have to put in, but there's this misconception that going to church and growing up in church, going to church, being a young person in church is boring. And listen, no. It could be the furthest thing from that.
Now, while we'll mention, like, you know, what it is about this church life that's so exciting, you should understand too, like, we don't miss out on some of the other basic joys of life. Like, yes, we set aside the time, for us at least it's a Saturday and a Sunday, to come to church. You know that you want to be here, so you set aside the time and you come here because you've made that commitment. But I mean, there have been many times when I had a birthday party to go to on a Saturday evening, and I come to church and then I just go to the birthday party after. Yeah. You know, like it's not totally sacrificing a social life or basic things that you would do, but it's just making sure you have that time set aside, so you make that commitment to go.
Absolutely. Yeah. When I'm coming back to Trinidad from working abroad, my coworkers always ask me like, oh, they say it in such a tone like, oh, you're going back home, and they know my parents are pastors, and they know that I've grown up in the church, I'm in the church, and they always say it like, oh, you're going home to go to church, you're going to be in church all the time, and they say it in such a way like, oh, poor you, your summer is going to be boring, or your vacation is going to be eaten up with church things. And I wish that I could show them that it is literally the most exciting time to be in the church. And it's like most days we can't even find the time to watch a movie on the TV, and you have to like carve out time to watch a movie, which is crazy. We're always doing things. There's always something going on. There's always things to do, and it's not just busy work. No. Being part of the church and being part of the community that comes with being part of a church is so enriching, that the relationships that you form, the friendships that you form is so much. This is my perspective, that it's so much more enriching and it's so much more beautiful. Because, for instance, my friendship with you, we're not friends because of what you have to offer or what I have to offer. We're friends because we can encourage each other, we can pray for each other, we're there for each other, we support each other, full stop. And not just, what can I get out of this relationship? What can I get out of this friendship? And it's not like all the time when we're talking to each other, it's a very holy conversation. Oh, no. It's like, yes, did you read Deuteronomy today? That was so good. Yeah, like, didn't you enjoy that? Oh my gosh, God spoke to me last night. Let's talk about it for hours, right? At a time,
we have really fun conversations. We have a good time. We talk about movies. We go to see movies. We talk about social media and celebrities that we see. Like, we talk about normal things, and it's not just this boring life where we talk about nothing but that's church life. Talk about Jesus all the time.
And I think, like, I know I've gotten this a lot of the time, that my friends, apart from knowing that I grew up in church, my friends always come to me when they're in need, or those older than me, that when they hear my age, they're like, are you kidding me? You're so young, you're a baby. But they always have the comment that, Mika's so mature for her age, or Mia's so mature for her age. And I think that is a result of growing up in the church. I think it's a result of being exposed to the Word of God, the presence of God, community, because church is a community, and we're dealing with a lot of different types of people, and there's growth in that. And growing up in this community of coming to church, growing up in church, it equips us to deal with a lot of people, a lot of different people, and overcoming
Yeah.
the challenges that come with that,
Yeah.
you know? But our perceived maturity outside of the church stems from the perspective that we get from being in the Word. Like literally, we're steeped in the Word. The church building is our teapot, and we are the tea bag. You know what I mean?
Yeah. In terms of maturing, most non-believers, I mean, they're maturing as well, but they're maturing in a way where they learn to pay taxes and work and pay bills and stuff.
Yeah.
But we're not just maturing in that way. We're maturing in our relationship with God, and we're maturing in our knowledge of the Word. And so when we mature, it's more than just actually physically growing up. It's a spiritual thing as well.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And I think like the Word and being exposed to the Word of God from such an early age, the Word has a different perspective than the rest of the world has. So we kind of learn to have that perspective of the world for ourselves. It's more than just us. It's more than just our current situation. It's more than just what's in our face right now.
Yeah.
It's the Word of God is always, first of all, pointing to Jesus, which is what the church is also doing, pointing to Jesus. But it's also taking you into different people's experiences, different people's perspectives, caring for one another, loving one another, loving thy neighbor, helping those in need. I think it's from that perspective that we also grow in our maturity by the world's standards, because we're looking so much further than beyond the right now, and we're looking so much further than beyond ourselves into those around us, that people, whether they're saved or unsaved, they're picking up on that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think because of our perspective and how we've grown up with this perspective, it really does affect our reaction to a typical situation, where other people might react much differently than we would. So, for example, I had been part of a pan recital a few weeks ago, and it was in a public setting. It was in a mall, and we were outside, so it was just anybody who was passing, they're seeing this recital, and it was a big audience. And so it was a little bit nerve-wracking, right? But I know that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. I know that, but non-believers don't know that.
Yeah.
And so there were a few girls that I just wanted to check on. I was in we had been in the same group for one of the songs that we performed. And they were saying, they were kind of freaking out a little bit. They were really, really nervous. Their eyes were all wide and they were all jittery and stuff. And they said, "You look so calm." And one of the girls said, "Yeah, she's probably so accustomed to this by now," because I had done a few recitals before. And at first I was kind of taken aback because I knew I was really nervous, right? But so I said to them, no, I'm not so accustomed by now. And I mean, yeah, it's nerve-wracking, but this is my chance as being a believer who's grown up in the church to be a light to others. I told them, no, I'm not so accustomed, but we've practiced and we're all up there together, and we know this song. We had been practicing it for a really long time, and we were playing it really well. So I told them, it's fine. It's going to be over in 2 minutes. It's a short song, and we're all going to be okay. And so afterwards, I just kind of kept in conversation with them, so they weren't really thinking about their nerves so much. And it was just, maybe I didn't get to tell them, like, God said, you don't have a spirit of fear. But it was just, how we react to things, other people pick up on that, as you said, and how we carry ourselves. Other people pick up on that, and that's contagious. Yeah.
Well, there's so much more that we can talk about on this topic. Thank you for joining us. This is Living Life in the River.